Hi, my name is John Arana, and I'm lead pastor of Oasis Church in Arlington, Texas. And this is our awesome daughter, Karina San Martin. She's the pastor, executive pastor in charge of all the ministries in the church, and she basically runs more the show than I do. But anyhow, we're here, and we're just enjoying this time that we can be with you, bringing truth, dropping truth, and bringing life.
Right.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Because we're really all about trying to live an authentic Christian life.
Good. Yeah.
And so we're enjoying this time, and I hope you do too.
Excited to be here again, and thanks for listening this week too.
Thank you.
And you guys are awesome, and continue to share the podcast with
Pass
friends,
it around.
family. Like Pastor
Let people know.
John said, it's just really our heart to encourage the people around us and to strengthen their lives. And so
it's
all
about.
Awesome that you're listening, but it would be even more incredible if you shared it with like 2 friends this week. Everybody just share it with 2 friends. You can
just send it to 2 people.
Yeah, right there from your phone.
Yeah.
So
I think they're gonna love today's episode. We're gonna start talking about what did Jesus do intentionally to secure our relationship with him, to love us in such a way that is secure. But before we go into that, how you been? What's been going on? I mean, we haven't gotten an update on life for the last couple of episodes. So what's happening with you guys?
Well, let's see. We are in, full schedule for school. The school schedule is in full throttle, and that's been nice. I always do really well with routine and schedule, and I think the kids do too. It just kind of sets a tone for what we're doing today. And I think right now, I'm just super excited for all the holidays and the fall. I've been like itching to do my fall decorations and, put stuff. And I'm like, it's just still too hot, but I know a few people that have already been doing it, which is great.
Karen's been already all out. Fall stuff everywhere.
I think the holidays and it just kind of changes the atmosphere, and everybody starts looking forward to fun things.
Absolutely.
And I just think we all need a little bit of that,
It's funny because when I walk around the house, it's just her and I.
Right.
I walk around the house and then I see something new, in the dining room table, in the dining room area. And I'm like, what is that? And she's like, it's fall, honey. Fall. So we have fall decorations. And I'm like,
I love it.
Okay. Yeah. And then I go to the fireplace mantle and boom, some different stuff. And I'm going like, wow. But you know what?
There too.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it because it puts us in the mood of the season. And I thank God for all those little touches that she brings in to the house. That's because good. it really makes it.
And you have to enjoy those seasons in life, and I think it's important to embrace that, and just for me it just gives me fun stuff to look forward to. So I'm excited for that, and
it's
life
sad.
is busy.
It's sad when somebody just kind of like goes through all the seasons the same way.
Yeah, right.
I mean, come on,
How
man.
could you?
Yeah, fall is, the weather changes, the leaves changes.
Yeah.
I mean, enjoy the different seasons, not only physical, but also enjoy the different seasons in life.
Yeah.
Because you're only going to come around once and, make the best of it.
That's some truth dropping already. We're not even into our content yet. I love it.
So I'm grateful for Karen because she
awesome.
really makes it special.
That's
and
awesome.
I think that actually is going to bring me to the subject matter
Yes.
that we're going to talk about. Here's the question for today. Is it coincidence?
Okay.
Or is it intentional? That Jesus fulfilled all the different requirements that a bridegroom had to meet in order to receive his bride. In the Hebrew culture, before you got married,
that's a good question.
You had to go through all these different steps in order to be able to secure your bride.
Okay.
And so what we're going to look at today, at least we're going to start, is it coincidence that Jesus fulfilled every single one of these? Or was it intentional?
Okay.
And this, I think it's going to blow our minds.
Okay.
Because Jesus did some incredible stuff in order for you and I to be his. And he did it all.
Yeah.
because he loves us.
Right. All for love.
But it kind of brings me back, way back, like
Oh,
45
yes.
years
Oh,
ago.
I love story time.
When I met Karen.
Okay.
I met her, and of course I was like, whoa, awestruck right
Yeah,
away.
right.
And I was like, I'm going after her.
Yes.
And so I started going after her, met her, and everything, and all that. And I knew, you just know. You got to do some stuff,
Yeah, of course.
You have to impress this girl.
You got to pursue.
You got to pursue.
It's got to be a pursuit.
And so things that I, never really did,
Right.
but I remember the first rose I brought her.
Oh.
And I got this rose, and I had a little card, and I filled it in, and I was doing it again. What to impress her?
Yeah,
to
of course.
to connect and secure her my relationship with her. But here's the funny part.
Oh no.
The funny part is that because I had come from Puerto Rico, so my English was still very, very rusty.
Okay,
So I sent her a little card, and when they delivered the rose, the card said, "With sympathy." From John.
With sympathy.
So when she got the rose, she was like,
what?
"With sympathy? Who died?"
Oh my gosh, that's so
But
good.
in Spanish, it's like
it means something
simpático.
with feeling, right?
With feelings
Yeah, with
and
feelings.
with a lot of emotion.
Like with deep feeling
Yeah.
and emotion. So to you, it meant that.
For me, it meant that, and for her, it's like,
her, that's
who
what
died?
you give when
But
someone.
in spite of all that, she loved the rose.
Of course.
And I tell you, it was the first act.
Oh.
And it was the first thing I did to secure her love.
Oh, I love
and
that.
and it got her hooked right away. It got her hooked because she said, "Man, this guy's got it going on."
That's awesome.
So,
That's awesome.
but anyhow, do you remember anything
Oh, man.
in those days,
I
way
do.
back?
I do. I remember, of course, like I said before in last week's episode, we met, my husband and I, Sergio, we met when we were in high school. And
Yeah.
so, of course, in high school, there's these certain little, you're kind of limited with what you can do anyway.
Yeah.
But I do remember that he would show up to my volleyball games when he could.
Okay.
And it wasn't all the time because he didn't have his license, and but sometimes he would show up and he would just like sit up in the corner, and I knew he was there for me, like I knew he wasn't like loud and boisterous in the audience,
like your dad,
like my dad, but he was there, and so like of course like it would make my heart flutter a little bit, like, oh my God, he's here, and
did it make you nervous?
And it would make me a little nervous, and so, but then as we kind of got older, I remember he would just randomly at times like buy me sunflowers because that's my favorite flower.
That is your favorite flower.
And
that's right.
I think it's these little things that happen, but for me it's like repetitively, like to me it's kind of like a one-time thing. It's like
oh yeah, exactly.
you were just doing that for something,
right.
like just for one, like and I think for women it's like that too, like we like that pursuit, and I know that Jesus talks about the church being the bride of Christ.
That's right, exactly.
And I think that he is in pursuit of us as also,
absolutely,
and so but those are some of the things that just kind of
it's always the little things.
Yeah.
It's always the little things that kind of gives you a clue of where this person is heading. And I think that's what today is all about, and maybe the next few episodes is, that we have to get a fresh perspective of Jesus. A lot of people, know Jesus as the Savior, the Lord, the healer, the one that blesses
almost
you.
like a distant,
like
and
it's
distant
impersonal.
A deity.
More impersonal, and I think we need a fresh view of Jesus, and that He is the lover of our souls. He's the bridegroom. We as the collective church are His bride, and I think we need to just get a fresh perspective. By the way, John the Baptist in Matthew chapter 9,
I remember him,
called Jesus the bridegroom. So he said, "Can a friend of the bridegroom mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them? So he's referring to Jesus.
Okay.
So there's that metaphor
Yeah,
again
right.
that Jesus is the bridegroom. And I think even actually that was Jesus. Excuse me, that was Jesus speaking of himself.
Okay.
But John the Baptist in John chapter 3 verse 29,
Oh, yeah.
he was
Okay.
saying, "He who has the bride is the bridegroom."
Oh, okay.
But the friend of the bridegroom,
Okay.
referring to himself, John the Baptist,
Okay.
who stands and hears him, rejoices greatly because of the bridegroom's voice. So again, there goes that metaphor.
Yeah.
Jesus is the bridegroom,
Right.
and the church is representation of the bride of the bride.
Yeah.
And so you got these metaphors
awesome. Yeah.
that begin to paint a picture of this love relationship.
Right.
It's a love story.
Yeah.
It's not just this gruesome story of dying on the cross and
Right.
bleeding and everything, but it's
Yeah.
just this love story of Jesus pursuing us
Yeah.
because of his amazing passion and his love for us. So,
Yeah.
you know, if we begin to see Jesus this way, how could you not fall in love with him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that, and I think you hit on something really, really important, and is that a lot of people don't really understand this aspect of God and this heart of God that he really has for us.
Yeah.
And it's a gentle, it's a loving, it's a full of, like in a marriage, like
Yeah.
I want to create a beautiful life with you. I
Exactly.
want to help you have a beautiful life.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of that beautiful life.
Yeah.
I want to take care of you. I want you to take care of me.
Yeah.
And it's this actual living exchange that he wants us to have with
Yeah,
him.
exactly.
And not just this, oh yeah, I know about God. Okay, there's
Right.
all these rules.
Sure.
Okay, I better be good. Okay.
Right.
And that is just so far off
Yeah.
of, I think, his intended story from the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's some practical things that are evidence
Yeah.
of how much he was able to go and pursue us and do to secure
Yeah.
our love for him
Right.
and to show us his love for us. Okay, so let's kind of get a little bit into
Yeah.
the Hebrew culture,
I'm excited
because
to talk
we
about
need
this
to
part.
decide, was this coincidence or was this intentional? So in the Hebrew culture, if you were going to pursue a woman
Right.
and you wanted her to be your bride, you had to go through all these different hoops. You had to jump through all these different hoops.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about them because we see Jesus doing this
Yeah.
and fulfilling every single one of these.
Okay. Yeah.
And so you got to think like, okay, did somebody just randomly pull a verse out of the Bible and say, okay, Jesus did it? Or was this really done
Yeah.
intentionally? So here's the first one.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk
Let's
about
think
it.
about this. Here's the first one. In the Hebrew culture, the groom's father arranged the marriage.
Okay.
In other words, the groom's father chose the bride. And the Bible says in Romans 8:29 that God chose us in Christ in order to reflect his image. And so there's other scripture that says in John 17:9, it says, I'm not praying for the world, but for those, Father, that you have given me, for they are yours. And Jesus also
That's
said,
good.
you did not choose me, but I chose you,
yeah.
and appointed you, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So here we see the Father and Jesus coming to agreement, saying, I chose you. I chose you to be my bride.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like a no-brainer. That's a pretty easy. So in other words, God is saying, I have selected those who believe in me
Yeah.
to be my son's counterpart,
Yeah.
so that my son can pour their love on them. So I remember, when I first met Karen, I had other girlfriends before that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's just
Of course you did. You were a handsome
you're
fellow.
a teenager and you're you're trying to find your way but when I saw Karen, there were other options available, in the field.
Yeah, of course.
And so, but when I saw her, I thought, wow. And then I got to know her, and then I said, you know what? Out of the choices that are available, man, this is the person I want to be with.
I choose you.
And that is what Jesus did. That's what
Yeah.
the Father said.
That's good.
That is what the Father said.
Yeah. And I think that also speaks to the beauty of what Jesus did for us, that he died on the cross, to give us salvation and all of that encompasses. And I think that also speaks to what we kind of touched a little bit on in our previous episode, was that love is based on a choice.
Yeah.
Love is based on choosing. And
Exactly.
just like Jesus chose us, we need to choose him.
Exactly.
We choose him or we choose not to choose him.
Exactly.
Basically,
That's pretty much it.
And so I think that it's like something that us who are seeking or following Christ, wherever we may be on that spectrum,
Yeah.
that yes, he chose us.
Yeah.
And to react to that, we also should choose him so that we can engage in that love relationship with him.
Well, I remember before I met Karen, years ago, I met this girl. Okay, and I was interested in her, and I asked her out.
Yeah.
And she turned me down.
Okay.
And I realized that she was saying, I'm not interested. You
Sure.
know, I don't want you,
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, that's a bummer, you know.
Yeah.
But here's what Jesus is saying. Jesus is saying, I want you.
Right.
I want you to love me because I love you.
Yeah.
And I choose you.
Yeah.
I
That's
choose
awesome.
you. And I think the second tradition was that the groom would come visit the father and the bride to be,
Okay.
and he would make a covenant proposal
Okay.
to the young woman in front of the father.
Okay.
And so what this was is that the groom to be would sit in front of the girl and the father and would propose to her.
Okay.
And would say, I want to marry you and this and that and whatever. And then it's a cool tradition. They would take wine and put it in a cup.
Okay.
And the groom would slide the cup over there to the bride to be.
Okay.
And this was the defining moment. If she drank of that cup,
She said,
yes,
I want. Yeah.
I take you
Okay.
as my
That's
bride,
awesome.
as my groom. But if she was not really interested, she would not take the cup.
Oh man.
And he would be like left.
So many awkward moments that could be in that whole situation right there.
Imagine that. But here's what blows me away.
That's pretty cool.
Jesus took the cup of wine and gave thanks to God for it.
That's cool.
And he gave it to his disciples.
Oh.
And he said, each of you drink from it. For this is my blood, which is a confirmation of the covenant between God and us.
Wow.
And has been poured out for you.
What a deep moment.
So imagine Jesus fulfills that specific step
Oh yeah.
to secure his bride. And what did the disciples do? They drank the cup.
of the cup.
And what they were saying was, I receive you, Jesus,
That's cool.
as our bridegroom.
Yeah, because that was a part of their culture, so they all knew what they were doing.
Exactly.
They all understood what
Yeah.
this meant. They, that's incredible.
And it's amazing because nowadays we take the Lord's Supper and it's kind of
Yeah.
like, hey, remember
A
me.
little more lighthearted.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes, more lighthearted.
Yeah.
And wow. But what Jesus was saying is,
Yeah,
I'm fulfilling this step
Oh, yeah.
to secure my bride.
that's awesome.
And now it's up to you. Now it's up to you to accept me.
Yeah, that's good.
I want you,
Yeah,
but do you want me?
that's good.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's
is
pretty
cool. Do you remember when Sergio and I, that we sat with you and Mom and talked about marriage? Do you remember
Yeah,
that?
of course.
Okay, so
I know exactly where we were.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure you do. So I remember, that we had talked about it, you know,
Right.
because obviously, you have to have conversations.
Yeah,
And so him and I had talked about it, and I was like, I know that Dad and Mom like want to sit down all together and this and that. So we had like talked about it, and then we set up a time to do that all together.
Yeah, uh-huh.
So I remember calling him like that morning, and I was like, "Are you ready?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, because we're talking to Mom and Dad today, and I remember he goes, "Oh, that's today?" And I was like,
he's going
"Are
like,
you-"
"Oh no!"
I was like, "Are you
that
that
moment has
yeah, I
arrived.
was like, "Are you that nervous about it that you like wiped it out of your brain?"
Oh man!
And, but all that to say that I think that for the bridegroom,
Yeah.
for the groom,
Yeah.
that even if they're nervous, and I'm sure every man has their
Oh,
story,
yeah.
to
yeah.
talk to
Of course.
the father of the bride.
Oh yeah.
And ask this.
That's a big moment.
I think that there's so much that groom has to process through
Yeah.
to get to that moment of, I'm willing to give my life for this person.
Exactly. Exactly.
And Jesus processed all of that as well,
Yeah.
because that final act that he did, the
Yeah.
sacrifice on the cross, like, he knew that was going to be intense, and he knew that it was going to be a lot, and but he was still willing to say,
Yeah.
yes, I choose them.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
I'm giving everything I have
Yeah.
for them.
And that's awesome, because that brings us to the next point, and our last point. The third step that the groom had to take was that he had to bring a dowry. So
That's like a gift, right?
He had to bring a gift.
A gift, yeah.
I mean, he couldn't come to the table broke with nothing.
Empty-handed.
He had to come with something.
Don't you dare come
Don't you
empty-handed.
dare. And so we see Jesus,
Yeah.
and we see him doing what he did on the cross and the sacrifice. And here's what the Apostle Paul says. The Apostle Paul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 20, he says, you have been bought with a price. And
Yeah.
1 Peter 1:18 and 19 says, for you know that it was not with perishable things such as silver or gold that you were redeemed from the empty ways of this life. In other words, you were redeemed and you were purchased by the sacrifice of Christ on the cross.
Right.
So
Yeah.
again, another step that Jesus fulfills in order to be able to secure his bride.
Sure. Yeah.
So Jesus again is saying, I really want you. I don't only want you, but I'm willing to pay the price for you.
Yeah. Right.
So that I can secure you by paying this price.
And he paid and he gave the ultimate.
He gave everything.
They other people, and it, I love that it clarifies. It says, it's not perishable things, such as silver, gold, that he gave, but it says, but with the precious blood of Christ. And that is like, giving your life for somebody else.
That's the ultimate.
That's the ultimate.
Price.
That is the ultimate act of, yes. It's basically saying, me.
Yeah.
You have all of me.
Yeah.
So
You have my life.
Yeah.
And you also have my death.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do it all for you. And I think that this kind of begins to paint a picture of Jesus, and you begin to realize this could have not been coincidental.
No.
This had to be strategic, and it just happened because Jesus knew that in the tradition of the days, he had to fulfill these different steps.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk a little bit more about this, and I think it's just going to blow people's mind, because you see the high level of commitment and love that Jesus has for us, and it blows you away, because we're not done with this one, but we're going to pick it up in the next episode, because there is something that the bride did when the groom brought the dowry. And I think we need to touch on that, because this is not a one-way street.
No, yeah.
And so we're going to talk about that when we come back on the next episode.
That's
but
awesome.
Here's Jesus loving us.
Intentionally. And specifically, and with the full picture in mind, but it's like he's willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
He's willing to fulfill every single thing to show us that, yes, you are the one that I want.
Oh, man.
You know, and I think
Yeah.
that, like you said, it paints
Yeah.
an amazing, incredible picture
Yeah.
of his affection really towards us, you know. So we hope that you guys capture that today. And, excuse me, like we said, share it with other people, because you know, your friends and family around need to hear this.
This kind of stuff.
Hear how much Jesus really loves us. So
yeah. And it's mind-boggling
yeah.
that he wants you.
Oh yeah.
That he wants me.
That he wants me.
And we're so imperfect. We're so, you know, easy swayed by other things, and yet he said, not only do I want you, but I'm willing to pay a price for you.
That's right.
So anyhow, we're going to continue
stuff.
this on the
Good
next
stuff.
episode. Here we are at the drop.
The drop.
Dropping truth and bringing life.
Yeah.
And encouraging you to love God and live an authentic life. And so we're coming back on the next episode, and we're going to continue on this truth.
You guys
God bless you.
have an awesome week. We'll see you guys next week.
Love you.